All right, in the last video, I was showing the natural notes, and it's really helpful when you learn the natural notes, but it is going to take time. It could take like a year to really know them, or possibly longer. But if you're practicing regularly, and if you do some of those exercises I was showing, like the CEG, you could do that kind of stuff. If you do that like as a warm-up, it won't take too long. I mean, it might take a year to really feel comfortable, but you'll be able to figure stuff out, which a lot of it is like, let's say I said play G, C, D, like a G, C, D chord progression. That's a really common one. That's a 1, 4, 5 in G. I mean, you would know that first probably, coming from beginner knowledge. Then the next thing you might want to do is play power chords. G, C, D, G, C, D. So how did I just know where to go? Well, I mean, some of it I just know G, C, D instantly. Here I kind of had to think about it for a second because I don't really do that very often. So I knew this was G, and then kind of intuitively I remember this was C and D. So then I built the power chords. Notice one thing kind of weird about the power chord shape is when you go from G to, when you go here, it had to stretch. And that's because the tuning of the guitar, if you've ever thought about it, you're going up, but then right there it changes just between G and B, and the shape is going to expand at that point. You could get into like why that's happening, but if you just remember that the shape's going to expand one more over, that's a helpful trick. Okay, so in the last video I mentioned that there's some fretboard knowledge that can help you. So what I used to do with my in-person students is I would force them to memorize what I'm going to show now, and then I'll explain its usefulness. And you could think of this as like the E octave game, and I'm going to do it, and then explain how to do it. So you go like this. I'll do it again. See if I can not mess up this time. Okay, so the reason why this game is important, I'm going to show it how to do it, is you're learning all the octave shapes, which is really the fretboard knowledge I was referencing. So what you want to do is start here, E. Then we're going to go down 2 octaves, and then it's going to start. Really, this one's just an E we want to play, but it's kind of, this is useful to know that. I just dropped the pick. It's funny, when I first started playing guitar, I used to drop my pick all the time. That's really rare. I don't drop it very much. So I just, maybe because I'm going back. This is 2 octaves apart, which is good fretboard knowledge. So, I mean, you've probably realized like these notes are always the same, unless you do drop D tuning and then stuff shifted. But, so at the beginning we do E, E. And here's where the fretboard knowledge comes in. You go over 2, up 2 is an octave. So over 2 frets, 1, 2 from this E, 1, 2, up 2. This is E. So over 2, up 2 is always an octave up. And the reason this is going to help you is once you're learning natural notes, you're going to be able to find the octaves. And then we're going to go over 2, up 2 again. Over 2, up 2. But since we hit the B string, remember the shape, it's like a little conveyor belt. It slides the note to the right once. So over 2, up 2 is the principal, but then once you hit the B string, it's like a little conveyor belt that slid it over. That's like one way you could think about it. So E, E, over 2, up 2, second fret on D string. Over 2, up 2, but we have to slide over one because we hit the B string. So then it's 5. Then the next shape feels like a C major chord. If you've ever thought about C major, these 2 notes on the A and the B string are both C. And those are 1 octave apart. So here we're dropping down an octave from, just make like a C chord feeling shape. We're going from 5 to 7. This is a useful octave to know about. Like, so right here, this note is A. So you know what this note is. You know it's A. It's down an octave because you can see that shape. And you can hear it. It's just an octave. So we go from 5, which is E, to 7. And put your first finger there, and then over 2, up 2. We didn't hit the B string, so it's just over 2, up 2. And then from here, over 2, up 2, but we crossed the B string, so it slid over 1, and then... So then you're going from 9 on the G string, this is 9, to 12. And once you get to there, you could keep going if you wanted. You could drop down 2 octaves, you could keep going. But really, I mean, on this guitar, I don't tend to play up that high. So here's again. Okay, and what you want to do is, I mean, you can memorize it for E, but what you really want to do is, and you can also go backwards if you want. It's useful to go that way too, but I mean, really, this isn't, you're not going to make a song that's just doing octaves. So the goal is to practice enough where you can remember the principles, and then this is where it's super useful. Is let's say you're down here and you want to play G, C, D, and you're like, okay, well, all I really know right now is I know this is G. I don't have that much fretboard knowledge, but like I was saying, you know, you're trying to follow along in some of these videos or trying to move some riffs around, and you're like, well, I know I want to get up to here somehow. I want to play up in this region. I just gave away it. Where is there a G up here? I just don't know. You could either go up the string, B, C, D, E, F, G, or you could use your fretboard knowledge, which is actually faster a lot of times, because you could just go over 2, up 2, over 2, up 2, but you hit the B string and then convey it over there. And then your ear will start to recognize it too. So you might be like, oh yeah, it didn't sound right. So back to here, let's say you're playing G, C, D, and then the other thing you could do is, let's say you found just the G. Instead of having to go, okay, now I want C, and I'm going to find the octave of it. The nice thing about guitar, even though I think it's a hard instrument to learn, is that it's very shape-based. So you could just be like, well, I know my GCD pattern before was like that. So since I shifted just a part of the pattern, I can keep the rest of the pattern the same. The only thing that can throw that off is when you hit the B string. It's like a little conveyor belt that shifted the shapes over. And I've never really gotten a... More advanced people who maybe come across this video, if anybody knows why the guitar, sometimes I've actually tuned my guitar so it goes all the way up and it's interesting to play on, but you can't do bar chords. So I don't know if the guitar was tuned the way it is for the sake of bar chords or what, but remember, when you hit the B string, it slides over. So the point I'm making here though is, let's say you wanted to shift this little pattern, G, C, D, C. Well, instead of doing the octaves for each one, you could just shift just the G, G, and then you know C is going to be right above it, because you know that was true down here. So G, C, D, G. So you can shift whole patterns around no matter how complicated they are. Just shift one note, and then the little wrinkle on the B string you start to get used to. And the more you play guitar, you'll rely on your ear more. Yeah, it speeds up a lot of stuff, because you're like, G, there it is. Like, you don't have to think about, you don't have to look as much, because you just slide over till you kind of hear it. So for all this shifting I'm talking about, it makes it faster once your ear improves. But back to this real quick. So let's say you move G, and then you're like, well, actually I want to move it up 2 octaves. Then you could go, well, G, C, you know it's above it, D. And so the purpose of this video is to show you that if you only know like a little region. Let's say down here. I think that's like sounds like Bob Marley. Let's say you had that little riff. I like with the slide. And then you wanted to solo up higher. Well, you could be like, well, I know this is G. I want to get way up here somewhere. And you're like, okay, well, G over 2 up 2, over 2 up 2 across the B, back down to here, here. You could play it up higher. Or you could even like try it in a bunch of different regions. And what will happen is like over time you'll just get more confident. And it kind of earlier or in a lot of these videos and a lot of my videos on YouTube, you'll see me jump around and know where stuff is. And sometimes I'm actually using that, like the octave trick. Sometimes I just know exactly where I'm going, but it's just like a powerful fretboard knowledge, and it's very, very simple. Because sometimes if you're moving a note that you don't use all the time, it's not instant always. At least for me, and especially like if I'm playing guitar a lot, stuff becomes more instant. But just like anything, it's kind of use it or lose it. So let's say I had to move like a D flat around, even I just don't really think about D flat. So it doesn't jump out to me where stuff is. Whereas like G I use all the time. I know where the G's are. So really what I would do in that case is I would be either thinking, well, where are the D's? Because D is much more common. Or I could just be like, well, I'm playing like a D flat minor chord or C sharp minor. And then I'm like, well, where would be the next shape that this could be? Then I could just find it like that. Like there'd be a C sharp here or up here. And I could use that little fretboard knowledge. So you'll start to pick up a lot of these tricks. Knowing your octaves is really important. And in later videos, we'll get into some more intervals that I think are really useful. The one thing when you're going from beginner to intermediate, there can be this temptation to think that the more knowledge you have, the better. And I talked about this in one of the other videos. But really, in my opinion, a lot of people, they know a ton about music, but they don't make up cool stuff. So you have to ask yourself, what's the point of music? If the point is to make nice sounding stuff, I mean, you could make awesome songs with just really beginner knowledge. And but I mean, having more music knowledge makes music more fun. So the more you learn, I mean, it tends to be better. But if you're like, don't use it as an excuse, kind of, is what I'm saying. Like, you can just make up stuff for the level you're at. It could sound super good. And if you have a good voice, and I mean, you can really make up some good stuff. But even if you don't have a good voice, a lot of the bands I like, people don't have good voices. It's just the music sounds authentic and stuff. So the point that I'm making is when you're getting into this stuff, it can seem overwhelming, but it doesn't need to take away from the enjoyment of music and your creativity. Because a lot of stuff that some of my students would make up, I'm like, that's really cool. Because later, like sometimes it gets harder to think outside the box because you know more. So sometimes I would do stuff, I'm like, I've never seen that. I've never thought anything about, I've never even thought that was possible. So anyway, when you're going through this, if you hear something cool, maybe try to make a song out of it. Because later you're going to have a different view. So just enjoy the process. If anyone has any questions, let me know.